This question is about searching an element in an array. The question is, how do you perform search operation in an array? The category is of course arrays, and there will be 5 relative questions about searching elements in array. Searching elements in an array is a very common task in programming. JavaScript gives various methods to perform search. We will begin with 3 methods: indexOf, last indexOf, and includes. The syntax of indexOf is like this. There is an array name you specify and you apply the indexOf method. It takes 2 parameters. The first is search element, that is the element you want to search or the value you want to search, and the start index is optional, which denotes the beginning index. If it is given 0, it will search from the beginning, but default is 0, so you don't need to specify if you want to search in the entire array. This method returns index number where the item is found. If search element does not exist in the array, then it will return -1. And if there are more than 1 matches found, it will return the index of the first item found. The last indexOf is similar in terms of syntax, but it returns the last index of the found element. Otherwise, it is very similar to indexOf. If start index is given, it will search from the index. By default, start index is array length -1. The syntax of includes is something like this. Includes is also one similar method like indexOf, but it returns boolean value, that is true if element is found, otherwise false. These 3 are very common, very basic methods which we are going to try right now. Let's say we have this array which has few elements, few are repeating, like 1 is 3 times in the array. Now the first statement I'm going to try is console.log. The array name is arr and I will say indexOf. What I want to search is, I want to search for value 1 in this array. Let's save this and run what it returns. Now you can see 1 is found on the 0th index, so it returns 0. By default, the start index is 0, so it has started searching from 0. Assume that I give that it should start from the second index number, that is 0, 1 and 2. From this position I want it to search, or let's say 3, that will be better. So from this 3, 0, 1, 2 and 3 is going to start. I'm saving this and running it again. So now you see that the 1 is found on the 5th position, so it has returned the index number 5. In case if I give, let's say, small o, then if we try to search it, it's not going to return the value, that is, it is going to return -1 because that value is not found. This also proves that indexOf searches case sensitive value. Let's change it to 1 again. Now we will try the last indexOf in the very same case. I'll say last indexOf. Let's directly run this and see what happens. This also has returned 5. Why? Last index starts searching from array length -1. That is, if we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, that is total 7 elements. The last is the 6th element. So array length -1 will be 6 here. That will be the start of searching. Now let's say you want that it should search from this place, that is 0, 1, 2 and 3. So I can say here that start searching from 3. Remember that index number is calculated from the start, of course, but the search will go backward. So now if I search 0, 1, 2, 3, this is the place from where the search is going to be started, and it will go to search where is 1 in this entire array. Let's see what happens. It says 2. So 0, 1, 2. This is how the indexOf and last indexOf works. They return the index number of the found element. Whereas includes is very similar. In terms of parameters, you would see that it has the very same parameter. It is something like indexOf only, but instead of returning the element number, that is index number, it returns whether it is existing or not, it has found or not, that is true or false. So now if I save this, it's going to search from this place, that is the 4th place, 3rd index, where will it find? It will find here. But it's not going to say the index number, but instead it will simply say whether is there any value found or not. Again, if I just change this to, let's say, any or something, I don't even need this index number. Let's see whether it finds it or not. It says false. That means the value is not there. So these three methods are an easier way to search. But there can be more complex searches like conditional search. For example, you have an array of salary and you want to get all elements where salary is more than 3000. Then you can use find method, findIndex method, or sometimes even a better method called filter. Let's directly jump into a practical example and later we will figure out the syntax. Let's say this is the array of salary. Now the syntax of find method is something like this. It is going to return something that we will see that return value is what. I'll say array.find. Now this takes a callback function like we have already seen in for each, that there is a callback function called for each element. Same thing is happening here. Now I can write function like this or I can go with arrow function, but I prefer to go with arrow function. Here it is going to pass 4 parameters. The first is the element. That means each element is going to be passed in this argument. There can be an index number. There can be an array. This array is basically the array itself on which the find is applied. And there can be this argument. All these are similar to for each. First of all, let's simply start with element. What we want to do is we just want to return all the elements which are more than 3000. So if there is an element more than 3000, that is value 3000, that will be returned in rval. So I'm going to say return element more than 3000 and it will stop searching. And I'm adding this console log rval which is returned here. Now let's run this code and see what happens. It says 4500. That means it did find this value. There is something more than 3000, but it did not search further. In fact, this only finds one value and it stops the searching. The way we have find method, we do also have findIndex. This is absolutely same as the find method, but instead of returning the value, it returns the index number. Let's try this. You see that it returns the index number. But the problem with these two methods is it finds only one value at a time. Let's say you want to get all the values which are more than 3000. How will you do that? The best way is you use the filter method. Now the amazing thing with filter method is it doesn't return one value, it returns a new array, entire new array of found elements. So whichever element returns true with the condition, that is returned to a new array. A new array is filled with those values. Let's try this and see now what is the output. We are displaying the rval, but now rval, that is the returned value, is now going to be an entire array. You see this? These are the elements. This 1200 is not of it, right? This 1200 is less than 3000. So that is not returned. Only these three elements are part of rval. So a new array is created with the filter method. As long as the syntax is concerned, here is the syntax of find method. It takes a callback function and there is an element. There is an optional index number also, the array on which the find method is applied, and the this argument which is a reference of the this object in the callback function. Now the same syntax is for all three methods, that is find, findIndex and filter. If there is no true value found in array, in case of find, it will return undefined. The same is the case with findIndex also. But if there is no value found with filter method, it is going to return an empty array. Let's say, for example, here in this case, I'll say 30,000. Is there any value more than 30,000? If no, then there won't be any value returned in an array, but it won't be undefined. You see this? This is an empty array. But instead of this, if I say find method, it will return undefined. So this can also be a question that what will be the output if there is no value returned in filter method or even find method. Now let's discuss the relative questions of this topic. The first question is, what is the difference between find and filter method. So we have seen that find returns only one value, that is the first match, and it stops searching, whereas filter returns a new array. The second question is, if there is no value to return, what will findIndex return? So like findIndex will also return undefined if there is no true value matched. The third question is, what is the difference between indexOf and includes method? So indexOf returns the index, whereas includes returns the true or false, that is a boolean value. The fourth question is, how will you search multiple values in an array? So that's where filter method is useful. So you can talk about filter method in that case. And that is this piece of code, and the question can be, what will be the output of this code? Now here the last index of is applied and there is no such element ABCD in the array. If the element is not found, what should be the output? So in case of index of or last index of, -1 is the output if the element is not found. If you want to try, we can do that. I will say last index of here and trying to do something, trying to find something which is not at all there in the array. And if I run this, then the output is -1. So apart from these methods, there are many other methods or ways which you can implement to search elements in an array, but these are the most commonly used. Filter is one of those methods which is often used to find the array elements.